The passenger car market has given way to the rise of the SUV, and no brand has felt that more acutely than Holden. Its all-new imported Commodore has failed to ignite the market, and its sales are dropping left, right and centre. And that is why this thing is here. It's the Acadia, a big, roomy 7-seat SUV that can be had with two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. It's feature-packed and has an active safety list that puts many of its key rivals to shame. In this review, we'll be testing the top spec LTZ V with all-wheel drive, and it has a drive-away price of $67,990. We'll tell you what it's like to drive, what the interior's like, and how big the boot is. Holden is madly trying to make up lost ground, with its sales falling and the Commodore doing nothing to help stem the loss. The Acadia is imported from the USA but has copped an extensive ride, handling and steering tune-up by Holden engineers to improve its performance and appeal in Australia. Here under the bonnet of the Acadia is a 3.6 litre V6 engine. You can't get a diesel in the lineup. Makes 231 kilowatts of power and 500 newton meters of torque. Now, it's a fairly old engine in the GM lineup. It's been around since the early 2000s. It's mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission. I guess that helps to bring it into the modern age in terms of fuel efficiency and performance. There is absolutely no doubt about the grunt on offer from the Acadia's V6. It actually feels perkier lower down in the rev range than the same engine does in the Commodore. Indeed, whether you're travelling on your own or you've got the whole family on board, all you've got to do is simply flex your toe on the throttle and this thing surges ahead. 9-speed automatic is really well matched to the engine. It's nice and smooth and it responds really well to the throttle. However, it's not all smooth sailing. Moving away from a standing start with anything but the gentlest of throttle applications when you're in two-wheel drive will have the thing chirping. Of course, you can get around that by simply dialing up all-wheel drive. See, even the Acadia all-wheel drive is by default a two-wheel drive car. You've got to manually select all-wheel drive via the drive mode selector. But the good thing is, once you've selected all-wheel drive, it'll stay in that mode all day, every day, until you manually change the car back into two-wheel drive. I kind of like that. As smooth as the 9-speed auto is above, say, 60 k's an hour, below that, it can be a little clumsy. As is becoming the norm these days, Holden's engineers had a very heavy hand in tuning the ride and steering in the new Acadia. And on the whole, they've done a really good job. The steering is nice and correct, decent weight, if a little feel-free, and there's good bump and body control through corners. In fact, I'd go so far as to say the Acadia is actually fun to drive, and that's not something I ever thought I'd hear myself say about a 7-seat SUV. I think the engineers probably spent a little bit too much time making the thing fun to drive and not enough on its low-speed ride quality. See, around town, the ride generally feels knobbly, and sharp-edged hits like you get with the car park speed hump can send a jolt through the cabin. How does the Acadia fare when you leave the bitumen behind? Well, you've got to remember it's a rough roader and not an off-roader. It doesn't have a lot of ground clearance, and the approach and the departure angles are not what you call off-road friendly. However, the all-wheel drive system is pretty good, and the roads we've driven across today are probably about as demanding as any owner would ever put the thing across, and look, it took them all in stride. So here in the front of the Acadia is a real mixed bag in terms of the materials used. You've got lovely leather seats, soft touch materials up on the dash, but then you've also got this hard, scratchy stuff down here. Now, the design of the dash overall is pretty good, but it does lack the sophistication of some of the car's key competitors. So what about storage? Well, there's not actually that much of it here in the front of the Acadia. You've got these twin cup holders here. You've also got a bin at the base of the dashboard, but that's for wireless phone charging and where you plug your USBs and 12 volt into. Now, because it's wireless phone charging, you can't keep your keys, and it's probably best you don't keep your wallet there. Now, there is a decent sized center console bin, I must say. The glove box, however, is a bit small. There's somewhere for your sunglasses in the roof, and there are door bins, but they're largely tokenistic. I mean, they're shaped like they should hold a water bottle, but I tried putting my 500ml test water bottle in there, and as soon as I touched the brakes, the thing fell out onto the floor. There is also a really weird crevice at the back of that bin, and if you dropped your keys down there or your wallet, I'll tell you what, you'd have to rip the door lining apart to get them back out. Top spec LTZ V gets leather interior, and both the driver and passenger have powered seats. They're also heated and ventilated. They're pretty comfortable too. And with 10-way adjustment on this driver's seat, I tell you what, if you can't get comfortable behind the wheel, then you're not trying hard enough. So here in the back of the Acadia, as you can see, I've set up this front seat to suit myself, and I have got plenty of leg room. I've got plenty of foot wiggle room too. And even with these dual pane sunroofs, I've still got decent headroom. Now the back seats can be slid forwards and backwards. That's obviously to either give those in the second row a little bit more leg room or liberate a little bit of space for those in the third row. There are air vents in the roof, and you've got your climate controls down here. There's also twin USB outlets, and this folds down as an armrest with twin cup holders. To get into the back of the Acadia, you've got to tumble forward the second row seats. Now there's a lever on the shoulder. Now disappointingly, the 60 part of the 60/40 split fold seat is on the curbside, so it's quite a big slab of seat to push forward. Look, the space that it leaves, the opening to get into the back seat, it's not huge, but I'm 6 feet tall and I didn't have any problems climbing into the back. Now once you're in here though, if you're a 6-footer like me and you've got size 12 feet, you are going to have no hope of getting your feet under the seats in front of you, or at least you're not going to have the opportunity to have anyone else sit next to you, because you're going to have your feet spread apart so you can slide 1 foot under one seat and 1 foot under the other seat. Now I've pushed this seat as far forward as it'll go, and I've got about 1.5 inches of knee room, so it's not too bad. And you can see there that I've got a decent amount of headroom, and that's because there is a cutout above me. There's also another sunroof for the second row just here. There's 2 sunroofs in this Acadia LTZ V. There are also nice creature comforts. There's a USB outlet over here, a little cup holder here, another little cup holder here, and a little storage bin on this curbside. Seats themselves are actually pretty comfortable, and I do like the fact that they're 50-50 split. So if you do only have one person in the back here, you can fold down the other one, still have a decent boot space. And there are top tether anchors on the backs of the second row seats and also the third row seats, which is handy if you need to put a booster seat or a child seat in the back here. In terms of who can sit comfortably in the back, look, you get an adult in here for a short journey, but it's definitely the place to be if you're a child that's outgrown a booster seat. The Acadia LTZ-V has a powered tailgate, which is quick to open and close, and you can do it either via the tailgate itself or the key fob. You just press the boot release button twice and up it goes, or down it goes. Now there's 292 litres here in the back when you've got all 3 rows in use. Drop down this third row and that grows to a massive 1,024 litres of space. Drop down the second row and you've got 2,102 litres. That's a huge boot space. Now there is virtually no load lip, so loading and unloading is pretty easy. There is also a space saver spare hidden beneath the floor here. You have to remove this lid though, you've got to unclip it, and then you've got to pull out these foam storage bins. I guess having these little hidey holes beneath the boot floor is pretty cool, but to get to the space saver spare, you've got to pull everything out of the car. That's a lot of palaver to go to just to get to a very, very small spare wheel. Disappointing that it's not a full-size spare. Now there are some people who'll dismiss the Acadia just because bashing Holden seems like a fun thing to do at the moment. But there's actually quite a lot going for this car. It's big, it's roomy, it's got 7 seats. You can have it as a 2-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive. The engine's punchy, it'll tow 2,000 kilos. It's got impressive active safety features and more creature comforts than you could poke a stick at, as well as a 5-year warranty, and it's priced competitively against the segment leaders.